awful nice of you, because I don't think Greg.
Water. I do that, you guys will tell me just go on the road again.
Unmuted.
Last time.
Open the meeting first.
Not that I need to write anything. Advertise, right? Subway.
Oh, yeah. Turn the logo towards the camera.
Yeah, Subway, eat
Yeah.
fresh with the Wood Village City Council.
We're live.
How you doing, Seth?
Beautiful day in Wood Village.
Yeah.
Got some sunshine, some rain. maybe a little
Snow. Get it all.
Wind, a little bit of everything.
What more do you want, huh?
Be one of the three people. Mary, I make popcorn, Mary, I throw it at you guys. We'd make popcorn. Yeah.
That's good.
Done.
Family.
Yeah, come up on my phone to watch the council meetings.
Oh, really?
So Mary and I would turn to it
Yeah.
and we'd make popcorn and watch you guys.
Good for
Sounds
you.
boring to me.
My wife does watch too, but I think
she-
only to figure out when I'm coming home. To
Oh,
put the
that's
pizza. But I don't know. She watches. Chris.
Oh, there it is. We're talking right now.
Okay.
It's awfully quiet when we start recording.
Yeah.
I think we're
6
o'clock, so I'm gonna call the Wood Village City Council and Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order, March 28th, 6 p.m. Counselor Amend, would you please read the land acknowledgement agreement?
The Chinookan peoples, known as the Clackamas and Cascades, are the indigenous peoples of the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of Nechakokee, now referred to as Nechakli, was located near today's Blue Park. Ancestral life of these people included a seasonal round of resource gathering and stewardship from the Wapato fields and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas of the High Cascades. Introduced disease from early settlers dramatically reduced the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed from to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many American families today. We are honored by the collective work of many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing. We are honored to be guests upon these lands.
Thank you, Counselor Amend. Our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. We're going to call the Urban Renewal Board to order, board meeting to order. And Mr. Stanley Dirks, I see your name.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we hear you loud and clear, Chairman. So I'm going to turn it over to you. And you know Seth is going to present this in just a minute, as soon as you call us to order.
Okay, one question, Mayor, is that you are the chair of the board. Are you present?
Yes, I am present in person.
Okay, I would prefer if you did the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Seth, the presentation on the resolution.
Do
All
I
right,
open?
we gotta open the public hearing before we
Oh, yeah.
do anything else.
This public hearing is now officially open.
Great. Thank you, board members, chairman. For you tonight, included in your packet is a supplemental budget for the Urban Renewal Agency. There's a small piece of this that belongs to the Urban Renewal Board. This presentation was shared at the Urban Renewal and Budget Committee meeting that we had a few weeks ago. And I just want to do a quick recap. When we did the staff reallocation, when M's position got kind of chopped up and duties moved around, we sat down as a staff and moved some positions around. The two biggest changes were we got rid of the general fund admin indirect and the general fund public works admin indirect. So there had been staff that have been budgeted to those two functions that were just kind of catch-all or didn't have a direct correlation to any of the functions. And so the change kind of pushed those out, and it also created a public safety personnel allocation, which we'd never had before. So obviously staff had been working on public safety, the fire contract, the relationship with Multnomah County Sheriff, the 911 agency. We had just never had our budget reflect the work that was being spent. So it was a good opportunity to kind of redo that. The part that affects the Urban Renewal Agency is when we did that, the Urban Renewal got allocated a little bit more of some positions, which again, the last time we updated this was 7 or 8 years ago. And back then the Urban Renewal Board was doing quite a bit less. It was less of a, less staff time was being spent on it. Since then, we've had the general fund loaned, the 2020 full faith and credit that covered the incentives that went on the old City Hall property, the construction of this, Arata fence, the Halsey Street crossings, all of which has taken Greg's time, my time, John's time, other staff time. And so we kind of went through and tried to come up with a fair allocation of that. So the personnel jumped from about 60,000 a year to 80, which is an increase of about 20,000. Again, this staff feels like this reflects the actual effort that is spent on supporting the Urban Renewal Agency. So with that, that's the only cost that we're proposing to increase the budget by. I'm available for any questions, discussion, or follow-up that you guys might have.
This is an action item, so we do need to take action.
But before you take action, you'll want to
Yes,
close.
yeah. So questions?
Nothing from the public I see.
Nope. we don't
And
have-
Mr. Dirks, any questions?
No, I fully understand it.
Okay. It's just as Seth has used in here, truing up where the money, what people are doing and what account is paying for it is. So if there's no questions, do I hear a motion?
Close.
Well, I better take action in the public hearing.
We, no,
No?
we close the
Close.
public hearing and then you
All right.
guys take action as
All
well.
right. With no further questions, we will close the public hearing and then take action. Thank you, Mark.
I move to approve resolution URA 1-2023,
A resolution.
a resolution authorizing the appropriation of contingency and making a supplemental appropriations to the fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Dirks. Appreciate your input onto this every year.
Okay, well, thanks, folks. Have a good meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, we will, let's see, we closed it. Adjourn. You're making it about as simple as you're making it about as simple as you can for me. So now I'll call the Wood Village City Council meeting to order. Citizens' comments. No citizen comments. Everybody's happy. The consent calendar. I need a motion on that to approve this consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? The only discussion I have is I will read the proclamation into the record here that I have, that I did have. You gave it. Anyway, I'm going to read that proclamation into the record. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Vic. So this is a proclamation from the city of Wood Village supporting and designation as April as a Parkinson Awareness Month. Whereas Parkinson's disease affects 1 million people in the United States, is the second most common neurodegenerative disease, is believed to be caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors, and is the leading cause of death, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that Parkinson's costs the United States $58 billion every year, of which the federal government shoulders $29 billion, leaving American families to cover the remaining $29 billion every year. And whereas it is estimated that by the year 2037, the number of people with Parkinson's in the United States will nearly double, and the disease will cost America at least $79 billion every year. And whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease can include dementia and cognitive impairment, tremors, slowness of movement, freezing in places, inability to walk and maintain balance, speech and swallowing disturbances, and a variety of other symptoms. And whereas the Michael J. Fox Foundation Parkinson's Progressive Markers Initiative works hand in hand with the federal and state efforts to identify causes in the effort to one day prevent Parkinson. And whereas the tens of millions of Americans who are caregivers, family members, friends, and greatly impacted by Parkinson's disease, and whereas more research and increased education in the community support services are needed to find better treatment and a cure, as well as maintain dignity for all those living with the disease. Now and therefore, Mayor John C. Minor of Wood Village do hereby proclaim April as Parkinson's Awareness Month in 2023. Thank you. That is, we've been recognizing Parkinson's Awareness Month for several years now, I believe. Or am I?
Second year.
Yeah.
Second year.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you doing that, Mayor. I have a friend who has it, and the drugs and medication that are out there today have really helped him tremendously.
Yeah,
So
I
Yeah.
share that. I also had a friend. So it's we take a little time for these proclamations, and yeah, they're ceremonial. But anybody watching, or at least we're on record, is recognizing it. So, all right, consent agenda has been approved. No. Pay attention, Becky. So move to approve the
we did
consent.
vote and second.
We did second it. All right.
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're gonna open the public hearing. Yeah, we're gonna open the public hearing for the supplemental budget.
For the city council, yes.
Becky, maybe use red for me instead of green. Okay, the hearing is hereby open for the city supplemental budget.
And we did publish notice of this in the Outlook last week and have not received any written or email or call or in-person testimony on this. So
Okay.
You guys saw a presentation on most of these items on February 28th. And so we had some discussion and presentation. This is just going to highlight and I'll kind of go through it. And if at any time you have any questions, go ahead and stop me. But I'll try and get through it relatively quickly since this is the second time you guys have seen it. The big things that are triggering our public hearing are the supervisory control and data acquisition system, the SCADA system that Control Systems Northwest and RH2 Engineering has been working on with our Public Works Department to update the different facilities, controllers, communication system that controls water and sewer systems. So that those options were presented to the council. Council said, go ahead and do it all rather than try and phase it in. This is just appropriating the money so we can actually fulfill the contract that you guys approved back in July. And this increases the total project budget by $185,000 for the actual contract with SCADA. And then there was some server work and some work by our third-party installer that needed to increase in order to make this happen. The other part is the sewer closed caption TV. This was budgeted at $80,000 this year. The low bid that we received was $200,000. This work could be delayed until next fiscal year, but there is some advantages to doing that earlier with the sewer master plan wrapping up. It is going to be helpful for pre-engineering and kind of knowing what we're getting into before we start looking at any of these major projects to have the system scoped out. And since we're planning on spending quite a bit of money on the trunk line and some other improvements, we're looking at, preliminary estimate of $5 to $6 million over the next 5 years on the sewer system. Investing this money now will help us try and stay ahead of any unexpected surprises when we actually get into those projects. And unfortunately, the unexpected surprises are never hitting a vault full of gold or old bond bills. It's usually something that ends up costing money rather than saving money. So those are the two major pieces of this. And that's why there was enough money in the sewer fund that would have triggered the requirement for more than just what you guys could normally do by a resolution to spend contingency. So with that, we went ahead and presented a bunch of different items just for transparency's sake. The first one was personnel adjustments. We brought to you the one-time COLA and staff reallocation. So on the right side, this was what we presented when we looked at the COLA increase that you guys voted on in January. The way that's split out in the funds with the personnel reallocation is included down here. What ended up happening was we didn't end up spending more in total than we said, but the general fund was a big saver in that staff reallocation, just because a lot of that got reallocated more towards the utility side, which we tried to allocate as much staffing as we could to public safety. But the reality is that most of the work that we do and the staff does is public works related. So when we did that adjustment position by position, a little bit of each position got allocated a little more to the utilities than had been previously. So that was the personnel adjustment. We had some multi-fund adjustments. The truck plow that didn't get rolled over from last year's appropriation. Some pre-funding of server and desktop replacements for next year. It'll roll over. We're only going to spend it once, but that'll help us with some supply chain issues and hopefully get a better pricing on that. And then there was some late invoice for our planning, and then some additional work that needs to be done here for window cleaning, HVAC maintenance, and updating the bark dust. Now that we've had them come in and replace the plants that were under warranty, we wanted to freshen that up for the spring season. So those are the projects that are going to impact multi-fund. I'm going to go through each fund and let you know what the impacts to contingency are. So for general fund, we had a couple adjustments in parks. I just wanted to kind of show you how the general fund personnel allocation played out. We took, like I said, we eliminated administration and public works administration, and then shifted that to events, public safety, parks, and building, so that it eventually zeroed out. We didn't actually reduce. I said that there was a savings in general fund, but we didn't actually reduce the general fund allocation. We just took it down so that it was zero rather than taking away spending authority. We just left it at kind of a net zero change. So that's what you'll see presented in the staff report. We could always lower the appropriation, but there's not any harm in leaving it since we've already done the reallocation and payroll. There's not going to be any more costs that end up hitting the personnel. All told, all of the general fund, the multi-fund, the personnel, we ended up spending about $30,000 of the general fund contingency, which isn't bad because we had 800,000 in there. Sewer, again, these were the two big projects that ended up impacting us. So you see SCADA and sewer are each over $100,000, and then they picked up some of the personnel, internal service and plow. So we started out with a $300,000 contingency. We spent 280 of it. Just that are in front of you. Water, did not have the CCTV, but we detailed all of the water breaks, valve breaks, angle breaks. I think pretty much anything that was in the water system that could break, we had at least one of break this year. So we had, all told, there's about $250,000 of additional costs that are going to come out of contingency with the supplemental budget. And then streets, the contingency was lower, it was 50,000, and we are going to plan on spending all of it, 20,000 on personnel. We got the new traffic reader. The large part of the plow and sander was allocated to streets. I believe close to 80% of that cost is reflected in streets. And then the internal service charges, and we were replacing a bioswale. Is that behind the ops building?
It's, yes, east of the ops building.
It's not actually belong to us on our property, but we do have the responsibility of maintaining it. And so that needs a big clean out. It's due. So we're sweeping that, all the funds there to put that into doing that project. As I said, we covered most of these items one by one at the February 28th meeting. So I kind of showed you the summary of how that's going to impact all the funds and their contingency. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, or changes that you'd like to make?
Questions? You had on the chart there where you had desks and chairs twice. Was that just an error?
That was an error in the.
Okay.
I also had the desktops twice, once in a bullet and
That's what
once
I
on
was
its
getting at.
own. Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see it in the error. So I was
Yeah, it's just
curious if
one.
That was an update or something or what? So.
Normally I have Becky review my PowerPoint presentations, but I didn't have it this time.
Okay.
Questions or other comments? I do have a couple of a question and then a comment, but the meter reader, or no, the traffic reader.
Yes.
All right, what do we do with that information? And I happened to, I got home back from our travels and took our morning walk, and I saw that box, tied or zip tied to a tree. So I was wondering, hey, are we doing something?
That was a unique way of setting up,
Yeah.
deploying it. Typically, we would use a street light. Pole.
John, what do we, the information, what do we do with that information?
So in the past, what we would have to request from the county to do a traffic study for traffic counts, speeds at the 85th percentile.
Okay.
With that, this unit, or we would borrow from City of Troutdale or City of Fairview. And for $5,000, we can get the unit ourselves. It's just, to me, it's
Yeah.
money well spent.
Hallelujah.
And it's a unit,
Right?
excuse me?
It's $3,300.
Yeah, we'd put the budget in for 5 and then
Yeah,
when we actually bought it, it was.
Yeah, actuals was
So
lower.
is this one a feedback to the driver or is it just
No,
oh, so it's just
it's a square box, like
just a square box.
1 foot by 1 foot square box. And
Yeah.
you would never know, you don't have the traffic counter tubes across the
Nothing like that,
roadway
huh?
anymore. This is all just direct
Digital.
reads off the.
Well, I really appreciate that because, this Arata Road and Wood Village Boulevard are increasingly being used. And we got 2 more restaurants going in up in the town center. And,
As drag strips is what you're getting at.
yeah,
The highest speed recorded in 2.5 days was 79 miles an hour.
yeah. It's,
79 miles an hour between Riverwood and Errata Road.
Yeah. You know, and I know the studies and, you know, I've asked for the studies several times and, you know, the average speed, it keeps it to where, you know, you
Still under.
Yeah, it's okay. Well,
Which
it's
the
not
average
okay.
speed in the, 3.5 days, it was about 38 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So does this thing have Wi-Fi that it reports to City Hall by any chance?
No,
We'd have to get the next model up.
well, yeah,
And a data plan.
but surprising, I mean,
For it, right?
Data plan, something
A
to
data plan.
yeah,
sell, a cell card for it.
Wood Village Boulevard sees about 2,500 movements a day.
That's this is all, I think, proactive. You know that the sidewalks or the crossings we got out here, that part of that came from the small cities grant.
Yeah.
And I happen to sit on that board and they're considering not allowing that small city grant money to be used on county roads. And I've been presenting at the last meeting and took maps because I believe we need to stay focused on Wood Village Boulevard and get a crosswalk where we have discussed it and talked about it. And I think this kind of information, you know, you never know how things are going to change. So I appreciate you being
Yeah.
proactive and you can hang that where we might need it.
It's also helpful feedback for the sheriff's office. If you want
Absolutely.
to ask them to do a special or targeted enforcement, to be able to say, we haven't just heard from our squeaky whales in the community that this is a problem.
Yeah.
Here's the data that shows how often this is occurring and what times. Can you please send someone out to do some enforcement so that
Well-
Even further south, like, at the town center, it's frustrating that the county won't listen to community members, community leaders that say that they need to redo that whole traffic, how the layout of the traffic lines are and just be more clear on what you have to do where. There's so much uncertainty on where you turn left, where we turn right, and so it's an accident waiting to happen. And I think a year or two ago during the pandemic, we got a presentation by a county, traffic. And, that was something I mentioned to them. I was like, why are we waiting for something to happen to make changes? I was like, why aren't we being proactive instead of reactive? And so hopefully, now with more data, we can lean toward that proactivity instead of
FYI,
reaction.
it took a death to get the stop signs.
On where, Mark?
Huh?
On that,
Errata?
on the.
On Errata and it was before Wood Village Boulevard
That's right.
was sent through, but it took a death on that road. And the sheriff's department was asking for it as well as the city council was asking for it. And it took a death right on that corner there
Well, I tell you, it's,
before the county acted.
I think we're all on the same page here and it's
Yeah.
nice to see us collecting the data. So we have our own information because at least if I'm still on this, after my last presentation, they didn't kick me off. I'm gonna use that data and then they'll have to listen
Okay.
to me again or get rid of me. So,
Yeah, great.
thank, my comment, would be that, it looks like, Seth, you're doing pretty well on your anticipating contingency. Right, because, you're putting that contingency in there. And, it's what we should be doing. So, you can't always guess right.
No.
But that has allowed us to make some purchases this year that we needed to make, that we've already talked about and why we're spending that. So thanks for the work on that.
So how long will it take to get the SCADA in? With this allotment that
The
we're moving?
SCADA, so it's in process now.
Oh, is
So
it?
they
Okay.
plan on wrapping up the project. I think it's November 2023.
Okay. good
So
deal.
here in another, 6 months?
Okay.
So you'll see what, just like everywhere,
Sure.
ordering these technical supplies is everything's on back order. So
I didn't want our $3,000 purchase to take up 15 minutes of our time and forget about talking about the big purchase there. So
yeah, no, SCADA and I think it's great that council is approving, instead of phasing this in over 3 to 5 years, that we're doing it now and getting that benefit now. And
Yeah.
So that's the reason we have a contingency.
Yep.
And we look at that contingency to keep things moving forward, so it doesn't get hung up in a budget year.
We don't want the reason we don't do something that's important to be because we didn't have the money or we didn't have the capacity to do it.
Any other questions or comments? I'll close the hearing if the phone's not ringing.
Yeah. Seems
So-
like everybody's happy with it. We should have put out our bears and our other stuffed animals tonight.
We'll close the hearing and call for a motion on this resolution.
I move to approve resolution 6-2023, resolution authorizing the appropriation of contingent supplemental appropriations to the fund.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion pass. All right, if I'm double checking myself here before I start talking. We're on to presentation on the resolution 07 with John on the sewer CCTV bid award.
good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. I'm here to present resolution 7-20. A resolution to approve the bid award for the CCTV and cleaning of our system. The last CCTV project was completed in 2017 with less than desirable results. And since in the last 6 years, technology has just thrived. So we're anticipating the 20 binders that our staff has to flip through looking for CDs and discs and go through paperwork. So with this project, there's going to be some efficiencies and some accuracies. So, and having to go to council with all contracts over $50,000. This is in the sewer fund capital outlay. And with the approved supplemental budget, there are allocations approved. Again, I said there was an RFP out, produced 2 bids, and you were not mistaken in your packet. It was, the second bid was $995,000. I ended up talking with Iron Horse. They're just getting back into the CCTV and business. And so their thought was they would have to allocate everything to our project. And so that's why it was so high.
Yeah.
So it was not a mistake. Alpha Environmental, a little about Alpha Environmental, they're out of the west side, out of Beaverton. They do several municipals on the west side, and they're migrating over to East County now. So that's why we probably haven't heard too much of Alpha Environmental because they're mainly focusing on the west side, but they're expanding and coming on to the east side of the river. And their bid was just under 200,000. You look like you have a question, Mayor.
Well, no, I'm glad we're not always looking for the low bidder, but in this case, it's appropriate to get to the low bidder.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the other outfit was, well, it just needed to gear up
Right.
and scale up to do our work. So
That's right.
and it's good you talked to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, talking about the budget ramifications of this project, Seth went through in the supplemental. Original allocations were 80,000, supplemental budget 120,000, and there's your contract not to exceed $200,000. This supports city goal 1, 3, and 7. Is staff's recommendation to award the CCTV TV sewer cleaning and cleaning project to Alpha Environmental not to exceed $200,000. Any questions?
So how many miles of sewer pipe do we have?
About 13.
That's a lot. So it wears out their equipment as they have to go down every single line. So I think it's an awesome price personally. As I used to do this work.
Well, I figured you did.
Yeah. It used to be cities would do this on their own. When you get larger cities, they set up to do their own work. So that's what we did. We had the sleighs and, we'd pull and push at the same time and do all this stuff ourselves. So yeah, this is what we did. So
And like Seth said, we could postpone this to 23, 24, but with our wrapping up our master plan and our wastewater and having a capital,
you need this
outlay there,
information.
we can use this information as we roll into the next year and the years to come.
Yeah. I can also remember I wish I could remember his name, who had to sit there for 4 months or longer going through all of those sewer things, looking for the problems. So how is it going to be different now from when it was? then?
Thumb drives, everything's gonna be electronic
Oh, yeah.
and thumb
Oh.
drive. So it's gonna be at our fingertips out in the field. They're gonna have their iPads and tablets and
Oh, wow.
have that information right there.
I think Councilor Real can.
For me, it's just, the bids are just so polar opposites. And so it's kind of it's baffling for one to say, oh, we almost need $1 million to do this. And the other one saying, oh, we can do it with under 2. With our amount of, mileage and pipes, is that pretty, from our neighbors, to say, yeah, that's, obviously Mark's saying that's a good deal and I'm not questioning.
So,
it, but it's just,
so when,
if we had like a third bid, at least we could kind of compare a little better apples to apples than just.
Well, so I can tell that the one for $1 million, he's looking to buy everything.
Yeah.
A truck. He's
that's
Food truck.
really what it was. It was because he basically either has to shut down his business and just purely work for us for, 30 to 60 days or supplement that with.
And
I know, Quinn.
John, I mean, that again is a good question to ask. And I think I heard you say that this outfit that we're going with,
Alpha Environmental,
yeah, they've been working on the west side,
the west side,
the west side,
and they're migrating
and
to
have
the
been
east
doing
side.
work for cities.
I guarantee you we'd have difficulties with the other one too, on all their training and stuff that they'd have to go.
No, I'm
Yeah,
I'm not saying let's go with the other one. It's just like,
Never seen bids.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
never seen it.
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
drastic, like.
As a comparable, I think it was around 80,000 when
Yeah.
we did it back in 2017.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
By Iron
looking at
Horse.
now,
Yeah.
and it was by Iron Horse, and now look at technology now at, just under
Inflation.
200.
Yeah, no. I
He
mean,
didn't want the work. That's really what it comes down to.
it's still like,
They just-
one number is this and then
Yeah.
another number is this. It's just like.
Let's see if we get it. If we're the only people out there, we might get the job.
Any other
thing they can say
questions
is-
or comments? And if not, I'll call for a motion.
I move to approve resolution 7-2023, authorizing the city manager award the sewer CCTV and cleaning project to Alpha Environmental not to exceed $200,000.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, our next presentation, as Seth is, John, you're doing this one too.
Yes.
Halsey
Thank you, Seth.
Crossings change order, yes.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Council President, councilors. Here looking to get approval for for the design work completed by Multnomah County and some change orders for the Halsey pedestrian enhancement project. A little bit of background, as Mayor Minor mentioned earlier, we did receive $100,000 small city allotment grant for this project. It was in the adopted budget for 2022-23. We entered into an IGA with Multnomah County to provide inspection, engineering, and design for the project. The bid award was to Brown Contracting Incorporated, not to exceed $520,000. The actual bid was just under 500,000. As you know, when you start opening up roads, there's some unknowns. One of the unknowns was boulders. They encountered some boulders, which then changed the design. And in one of the cases, I mean, just a boulder, they had to move the footing 18 inches to the north on one of the islands and replace one of the flashers. So, just moving it 18 inches, I mean, your concrete cost, your aggregate cost, and just everything goes up. Asphalt cutting, typical ODOT specs is 6 inches. You don't know unless you core it. We didn't know how thick the asphalt was. The asphalt ended up being 10 to 12 inches. This was verified by inspectors on site. So again, spec was based on a 6-inch cut. Basically, we doubled that. So again, cost goes up. You start removing 12 inches of, you start adding more aggregate. It's just, again, it just
Sorry, I'm laughing.
compounds these projects, and we try and get it, and engineer estimates, we try and get them as close as possible. But in the end, right now, the crosswalks are operational. They're working, and they're improving public safety. Again, some of the other costs was additional signage, which was recommended by Gresham electricians, which are familiar with these, as they installed several of these in the Gresham city limits. Design requirements. So with that, Multnomah County did invoice us for just over, I believe, $67,000. So contracts, anything over 50,000 has to get council approval. Some of the impacts here for the budget, again, street fund allocations of $700,000, contract amount, like I stated earlier, just under 500,000. This current change order that we are asking for is $39,355.41. We're looking to not exceed 540,000, and then approve the design cost of $67,485. Again, still under that $700,000 allocation, but looking for approval on that.
Questions, comments?
I guess the only comment is I wish they would have moved this crosswalk west about 5 feet.
5 feet.
It's hard to turn in to City Hall.
Oh, is it?
Coming west. but
And they have their engineers do the turning radiuses and,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
But
mean, you can still do it, but if,
Yeah.
if multiple cars are gonna try to do that turn, there'll be a little
challenge.
Yeah, it'll be a
Yeah.
challenge.
So again, this supports goals 1 and 6. And it's staff's recommendation to approve.
So you're basically saying that when the Easter egg comes around, Easter egg hunt comes around, that's going to slow down the traffic then.
Well, I mean, people are coming from.
That's what I'm getting at.
We don't want anyone coming from Troutdale.
They gotta turn left.
Well, unless we're ready to put out another 500 grand, they're probably not going to move that.
Yeah.
Right now, we'll have to just
Now that we
flag
see
it.
how much it costs.
Yeah, we'll just have to put somebody out there to help
10
make
inches
those turns.
Asphalt.
So,
And go.
That's,
no.
Yep.
I was
You
just
wanna
gonna
make-
ask a clarifying question. So the original allocation was for $700,000 and then,
yeah, I mean, I think I confused. So the adopted budget for 2022, 2023 was 700,000. The project's not going to exceed that. But for the bid award, it was not to exceed 520,000, and we're exceeding that by $14,049.
I see. So it's just like
Yeah.
requests for additional.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And then approving I'm kind of lump summing both of them instead of having to do two different presentations, lump summing this whole project into one, including the design cost for Multnomah County of 67,485.
If, that answer your question.
Thank you.
And I do know that we're going to be in some conversations with the county because it was their design. So we'll keep talking with the county and see if we can do something like we did on 238 and get some,
Because
some
Because
trade-
we want to support goal 6, which is effective local, state and regional partnerships.
That's right. And we have been, that's very good. And we'll and actually it's working pretty well. It just is, it's too bad that,
Fair trade, is that where you're headed?
well, it's just too bad that the design didn't get done properly in the first place.
There was, exactly. There
That's-
were some flaws in the design and, some field fit items that.
But we'll try to pull back some of that money that we're spending for that design fix. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Call for a motion?
I move to approve resolution 8-2023, authorizing the city manager to execute a change order to increase the contract for the Halsey Street pedestrian enhancement project not to exceed $540,000 and improve Multnomah County design costs of $67,485 to close out the project.
Second that.
Seconded, it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
The presentation on the draft APP. Now, Greg, obviously, we know is not here. And I would just call for council to review that APP and Steph is going to present. And probably questions in that. We wouldn't want to get too far into this without Greg being present, but I'll leave that up to Seth and see what you want from the council on this one, Seth.
Mayor, councilors, it's always nice to be able to, instead of being told what your work plan is by your boss, be able to have some input on what his work plan is going to be for the next year. And we do miss Greg. He did a wonderful job leaving things tidy for when he left. Unlike the last time he left, when he forgot to refill his candy jars and we almost had a mutiny from the staff, he came back to Post-it notes all over his office. He left ample supply so that I don't have to go raid my kids' Halloween stash to refill the jars. Before you tonight is the discussion on the annual performance plan for next fiscal year. So the purpose tonight, there's no action that's going to be requested, but it's to review and receive feedback so that we can bring this back at a future council meeting for adoption. I believe that's scheduled for the April 11th council meeting. So that'll be when the adoption is. So if you see anything as we're going through the slides that you want to have some additional comments, some modifications for Greg to incorporate in the adoption, let us know. And hopefully you're all familiar with the APP and the format, but we organize it by council goal, objective, who's responsible in the timeline. And you guys all should have gotten in your packet this lovely Excel spreadsheet with the timeline on it. I didn't actually take shots of that to put into the presentation, so you might want to have that to refer to if you're interested in the timeline. And as Greg says, when we're talking about this, the goal of this is 80 to 90% of what we do is already incorporated in our day-to-day operations. This is really 10 to 15% of what staff is doing that we can kind of reinvest in process improvement, one-time projects, and making things a little bit better, moving the needle forward for our community. So we'll go through each goal. For goal one, there was 2 items that supported that. First was the redesign and replacement of the gateway signs. The one out here on the north side on 238th. We had a presentation with different options and how the wood is at the bottom is starting to rot. And then the one on the south side of the city that's not in the urban renewal agency. The goal is to get the design paid for and for both of those signs to get replaced in this upcoming year. And then the second part of this was review some revisions for the CI, LM, and GM zone, the industrial and manufacturing. And this was on the APP last year. We did parts of this centered primarily around the Main Streets on Halsey work that had been ongoing, and then around the adjustments to the metro requirements for Camping World expansion. So what this project is going to kind of incorporate both of those changes, and also this is the last section of the zoning code that hasn't really had a modernization or a refresher kind of in totality. And so the idea would be to have our contract planner work on kind of doing some cleanup, kind of making it streamlined, a little more easy to read, getting rid of old language type of things. So those are the 2 projects for goal 1. Goal 2 for police, fire, and building services. As you guys know, we have continuing conversations about regional fire service. There's the Safer Council. There's last fall, there's the 3 city council meeting talking about fire service. Greg's currently having a team from USC work on a capstone project for an update of the fire study. And so we know that conversations are going to be moving forward among the 3 cities in Gresham of how to provide fire service. And this is just kind of keeping that up because the contract for fire is going to come up in 2 years. So,
And the capstone is being shared all with 3 cities.
I believe
And
once we get
maybe
the
4.
final results,
Yeah.
Greg's planning on sharing them.
Good.
Yeah. Goal 3, some years, and there's a lot of projects underneath the goal, and some years there's none. Goal 3, this next year is going to have quite a few. The trunk line design for Parshall is going to be the big project. We also have a project for implementing a customer self-service portal for utility billing so that people can access their account balance online and pay online. They can currently pay online, but in order to get their balance, they either have to have their bill or call us. So just kind of a way of modernizing that. Facility security. And so this would be we did rekeying this last year. This is going to take the next step and kind of look at all of our sites and look at either doing door alarms for buildings for remote sites or cameras. The last 2 are parks related signs. Again, continuing to refresh the signs, taking a look at the lighting here on the north side, see if there can be some expansion there. And then the park restroom, which was covered with the Parks Commission, as well as the Urban Renewal Agency, pulling together different pots of funding to try and put together a project to expand capacity, allow it to be open 365 days a year, and be more energy efficient as we move forward. And we hopefully will see a large increase in park usage as more and more people find out about our wonderful facilities. Goal 4 for long-term financial stability and economic vitality. It's going to be looking at the different funding options we have for that main trunk line replacement for sewer. And there's a number of different money. When you want to spend money, there's a lot of people who have ideas about how they can help you spend it. So we'll be evaluating those and coming up with a plan to present to council. Goal 6, again, with as John mentioned, regional partnerships. A lot of the work that we do, we can't do without other agencies in partnership. The only one that we had for this year was the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District support. And that's because hopefully that at some point will no longer be on the APP, unlike some of the other long-standing meetings. So, and I think you guys got an update on that in February. We'll give you another update when they finalize their post-project list for the GO bond that they're looking at for a future election. Goal 3 got all the projects. Goal 5 and 7, there weren't any that were proposed for this next fiscal year. It's not that they're not still goals. It just wasn't there. We didn't have any projects that rose to the priority level to do for that. So that's a work environment that helps support staff, and then responsible environmental leadership. And finally, goal 8, intentional engagement with the community. You guys should have gotten, I printed out a copy of this that Greg sent out electronically with the updated graphic and also the matrix for ranking and some further instructions on the back. This is just for you to take home and kind of mull over. There'll be a discussion at your next council meeting to kind of have you come back and bring back your rankings, have a discussion, and kind of have some input on how to direct staff, the community outreach to look over the next year. 2 other items here. Community Day, looking at partnering with other organizations and community members to clean up and pretty up the city. And then continuing the efforts for Manufactured Park Co-op, working with community-based organizations to help form co-ops in the event that any of these properties come up for sale. And working on, Greg's been working monitoring a number of bills that are in the legislature for this session that touch on affordable housing, mobile home parks, and those type of things, especially any state grant programs that are centered around that we could tap into or direct some of our citizens to tap into. So that covers all of the items that are on the proposed APP. Wanted to pause here and see if you guys had any questions, concerns, things that you think needed added, subtracted, or changed.
Questions? You referenced the matrix on like timeline, and so I, like one of my questions on timeline is, if I understand this right, so like the shaded areas on there, if we go based off what you guys, your key is the duration of kind of the project.
Yeah.
And so park restrooms, there's a gap between November, December, January, and February. So is the thought that July 1st, that's kind of when you guys start looking into the project, take a break, and then complete it in those final months?
Yes, because we're gonna have to get contracting and everything in place and get it in front of council, get approval, design work, and there's just a lot of moving parts that we have to do on the front side before we get to construction on the back side. So
It's the same for the gateway sides on here.
So you guys are anticipating like a staff break period per se within those months?
I don't think it's a staff break period. I think it's more kind of let's get things in line weather-wise too. So limited staff engagement in those months. I wouldn't say 0.
Yeah, I guess where I was going is like, if I would rather kind of have it all highlighted, knowing that it, in those, like you said, even though it's not a huge amount, but there is still staff time allocated to that. I think that would better represent the amount of staff time in those projects. So,
And really, I think on both of these, there's definitely a RFP design phase for the sign and the back restroom. And then there's going to be actual construction. We're probably not going to get to construction
Till spring.
till spring. And so we want to get the design, realistically, to get construction started, you have to have the design work done and finalized and your firm selected by October, November, and then they have it for a while. Then you're just hopefully waiting for the weather to turn in February instead of May.
I hear Councilor Rio Campos, and that's a good question, because really it may be gray in the duration of the project as opposed to not putting gray there, but it isn't done yet.
Right.
And you're still working on it.
They're still managing
And I guess that's
construction RFP, which is going to go out in those winter months, but
yeah.
really limited engagement there. So
But there's still, I guess, that there is still staff time dedicated during those months to it, to what amount you guys would know better, but at least for me visually, it would, because for me, reading this is like, oh, you guys it's from here to here. There's like a 4-month break, and then from here to here, pick up again. But if even in that, break time, there's still some staff,
Understood.
at least for me, I think it would be better.
And I think
represented that way.
and let me kind of throw out two options. You tell me which one you prefer. So we can have one line with all of them gray, or we could break it into a design and build phase so that then you can have some deliverables and kind of council can know once we've hit, because you'll approve the design contract, but we might not bring back the results or kind of let you know that that's complete and then we're waiting if it's all kind of great. So we can either break it into 2 lines and break it into design and build, or 1 line, and kind of that's your guys' preference of kind of how much feedback and kind of reporting you want to have.
Well, I think it's important from when we built this in the first place, taking this integrated, I forget what it was called now.
I wasn't around when they did this.
Yeah,
ITT
the AP, but the integrated process,
systems,
right?
yeah.
This part of the chart was actually to be built by the person who was responsible for it. And so we weren't supposed to expect reports from them during the months when they were clear. And then if they were past due, then they would need to explain why. Otherwise, like these 3 months here on this very first one where John is up here at the top, whereas the redesign and replace the gateway signs, we would know that we would not expect any kind of report during November, December, and January. And so that alleviates him having to say anything of what's going on during that period of time. Back when this first was put together, the city council needed to have our thumbs a little tighter on city employees, and especially with the city manager at the time. All right, because things were kind of array. And so that's what we were doing at that point to try to get some kind of handle on, okay, where are our areas of responsibility and how are they reporting to us? And so that's what we were doing. Nowadays, this is not the issue. It's more of a tool to them to just kind of let us know what they're doing. It's not a tool for any one of them for us to be managing them. It's a tool for them to be managing themselves. So now we're released from that. That's how this all start integrated, right? And that's how it has revolved or evolved to it.
But I guess that's the first time I've heard of it being referred to it to be used like that. And in that retrospect, then it makes sense to keep it how you guys are having. I guess, that explanation beforehand would have been good to know.
Yeah.
And then that's, I think the important thing is we know what the
History of it,
is telling us. And,
And I guess on this specific one, you have the design phase,
Yeah.
you have the construction phase. Now to say we're not going to do anything in the middle, it's kind of hard to say. Because we do have to manage those RFPs from the construction phase. But I hear what you're saying is, yes, split it. I hear both. So I guess it's how does council want that then? Because we could split it up as it is now as the design phase, the construction phase.
I say that we don't get involved with that we leave this tool to them. And all we do is we look for a report, and it's not really a report from them to us. It's from the city manager. That's the only person that we should be monitoring this from. If he has set this up and has it approved by each one of the department heads, then we stay out of this part of it.
I guess, again, after the explanation, then I totally agree.
Okay.
I think you guys, let's leave it how it is. Because again, we've never, at least I don't recall having that explanation, but that makes total sense. So I think then leave it as is.
if everybody's good with that, just give the feedback to Greg. And that would be, when he gives us the report, he says, yeah, well, it's not grayed out, but that doesn't mean this is why, so.
John's taking a 3-month Christmas break.
Bye.
John's gone. So anyway, well,
And it'd be like, if we're not happy with John, we can't say anything to John. It's only to the city manager
wow.
that we could ever talk
So
about that.
anyway, that feedback just
Yeah.
for Greg and, but
Appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome.
other,
Questions?
I don't want to open up the big discussion, but about how much is the trunk line? The extension, about just round numbers.
They said 3.5 to 4 is
Yeah.
what they were.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But that's
3 to
very
5.
preliminary.
Three,
3.5 million to 4
yeah,
million.
okay,
Yeah.
save us some money.
Yeah.
All right,
Bake sales.
yeah. You got,
And Keller is planning on presenting,
On the 25th,
okay, all right.
both water and wastewater.
Thank you. Any other questions?
and so this will
Thanks
come
for
back
presenting.
in front of you for your adoption on April 11th. And then funding decisions that support this will be presented at the budget meeting on April 18th. So to a couple more points where you're going to have opportunity to give input, feedback and approval on this.
And
Well,
I
then-
apologize, it's called system integration. It's right at the very beginning.
There it is.
Trademark.
And I would say this chart here, if we can get it back to Greg, that might help influence what he's gonna, any modifications he might make on that.
Yeah.
AEP. And of course, your funding.
Mine that I turned into you, I'm still having no change to it.
Okay. Well, maybe I was the only one that didn't do my homework when I was gone.
But that's understandable.
Well, I missed it on the, I mean, it didn't get done. And then I started looking at it and we started getting, yeah, we gotta have some time on this thing. Thanks, Seth.
No, thank you.
All right, we got that one, draft. Director of Public Works. Still here. And it's nice to have you here.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, Council President. I'm here to give you your March Director's Report, of Public Works. Yeah, as requested, I believe in the packet was the fatality report from Metro that is also presented at our monthly MUCTUC meeting.
If you're going to have a slide, I don't know.
I don't have a slide.
Oh, okay.
No, it should have been in the packet though.
Okay.
But no, I don't have a presentation today.
Okay.
I was going to make this short and sweet.
I just see Jeff Condit's name up there, and so I didn't know.
Yeah. So this month, I mean, staff dealt with wind, rain, snow, all the above, flooding. We did get our new truck. As Becky mentioned and Seth, Keller will be presenting master plans to City Council on April 25th. So we've been having a lot of eyes on these draft plans, and we really want them to be as accurate as possible. So staff, everybody, city manager, Becky, Seth, myself, our public works supervisor, our DRC with BMI, having eyes on these reports. So can't wait to get those presented to you on April 25th. Also, installed the frog spring toy in the park. So,
Mikey's given that rave review.
yeah, okay.
All right. He says, thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
City banner maintenance, the banners that are hung around the city on the light poles. We did some maintenance on that. Again, utilizing our partnerships with City of Gresham, utilizing their bucket truck. Like I said, the street crossings, pedestrian crossings on Halsey are complete. Those were wrapped up yesterday, and so they're functioning. And thanks for approving the resolutions, and we'll get that wrapped up. The system loss for water is still above that 16%, and it's just continues to raise some flags with our current SCADA system, and also we're diving into checking our meters. Our meters at our wells, that the staff is doing their manual reads, getting those calibrated and make sure they're operational. We still think it's kind of leading back to the SCADA, but we're taking the proper steps to make sure we're touching all our bases.
Thanks
Mayor?
for reviewing that. John, you're including that in each one of your monthly reports, that water usage. So appreciate that to keep us on track with that.
Yeah, no, we just want to keep you in the loop on that. And once we get the calibration of the meters, we'll give you an update on that also. Did want to make one correction on last month's director's report in the January code compliance cases. That number was inaccurate. The accurate number is in this month's report. So total cases for 2023 so far is 70 and 65 are closed. We had some monumental cases. I believe there's 3 of them. 2 of the 3, we are actually, I reached out and working with Wood Village Baptist Church with Pastor Tom there and seeing if we can get some support there for these 2 single-family residential homes. So the other one at Arata and Wood Village Boulevard, we are working with the property owner. And there's been progress with some of the vegetation clearing, some of the garbage removal. There's still two violations that we're working with them.
And it sounds like that the person is working with us and not
ignoring us.
not ignoring us. Yeah.
Yes. So there's progress. I know, we'll cases closed. Our staff, is working diligently on trying to make that happen. So.
Search for like financial support for the families to help them up.
No, volunteer support to support with some cleanup. Yeah. And we're kind of trying to utilize our city dumpsters and some volunteers from Wood Village Baptist Church. So hopefully next month I have a more of an in-depth report and can report those as being closed.
I was just gonna mention, I know it's another faith base outside of our city, but down the street, Anthem, they usually send out postcards around this time of any, volunteer opportunity for their congregation in regards to helping clean up debris and things like that, especially aiming for elderly folks or just folks that aren't able to do that. So that could be another resource if need be. So Anthem Church.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, 21 shopping carts were picked up in the month of February. So even with the inclement weather, they're still out there picking up the shopping
Yeah,
carts.
people are still taking those carts and
Yeah.
dragging them through the snow.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, John.
That wraps it up. Thank you.
And John, the idea is we're never going to be free and clear of any code violations. It's the key is, as you well know, it's just to stay at it and set some standards and stay on it. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
Thank you,
it's
Mayor.
remarkable,
Wow.
at a 70, 65 close. I mean,
No,
that's remarkable.
It's clearly some focused efforts on your part.
And we are still utilizing the thank you cards. So when things get wrapped up, if we have an address to attach that violation to, whether it's a parking violation or other, we send them thank you cards.
Yeah.
Show them what kind of-
Nice.
I can wait until our part of the reporting to mention something in this report. So I'll wait till then as far as so go
All
ahead.
right, Seth. Finance.
Mayor, city councilors, I don't have a presentation for my finance director's report that was included in your packet. Interest rates go up, business income taxes have been going up. Revenues are coming in on track, and now that we've approved the supplemental budget, expenditures are on track as well. We're getting real close to on our water capital to have been spending. I think we got within $6,000 of our $300,000 appropriation before we We approved the SCADA computer purchase, and that was the last amount of money that we could actually spend without getting an appropriation increase through you guys for the rest of the SCADA work. So now that the supplemental budget's approved, we're going to be good through the rest of the year. John has told me he's not spending any more money than what we have. I did want to note two things for you. We have two staff that are currently in process of getting their notary training. Lindsay, our accounts payable clerk, and Chelsea, our utility billing clerk, are both working through that process. So we had two notaries at one point. They both retired, or Marie retired, and then
I was gonna say, you must have a notice.
He retired.
give us two more, well, again, give us notary capability and backup on that. So
And one in reserve.
one in reserve, just in case. And then I did want to let you guys know that we did have a utility billing snafu in February where there was so in January, the utility bills have 10 days underneath the old rate and 20 days under the new rate. The tables got flip-flopped when they were updated, and so we billed them separately and didn't. So the bills went up in January. You saw the base charge increase, you saw the variance charge increase. But when February came around, February was using the old rate because the tables got flipped. So we didn't catch that until after the bills went out. And we talked with Greg about it. We do have the ability to go back and do some rebilling, but the amount was fairly minimal, and he decided that it wasn't worth doing a clawback and adjustment and having to do a kind of a public outreach campaign to explain what the error was. And so, but I did want to bring it to your attention because it was something that did impact us and was an error on my part. So wanted to let you guys know that, because we're being very transparent, even when things are not done 100%. So wanted to bring that to your attention, just see if you had any questions. It has been resolved going forward, and the bills that are going out at the end of this month will reflect the correct rates. But those were the two items that I had that I wanted to bring your attention. If you have any questions about anything that was included in the report or any of those two
So you're
items.
not playing catch up. So you're just leaving it the way it is.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Will there be just a notice saying, oh, happy February, but these are actual are just because again,
Maybe
Yeah, people might say like,
an Easter egg.
yeah, why did it increase?
No, it wasn't, it didn't seem worth, it was small enough error that didn't seem worth engaging the public and letting them know that they got a little bit of a break on their February bill. But ultimately, part of the calculation also was that we will, once the master plans are complete, we will be doing the utility rate analysis, and ultimately, all the money for operating water and sewer comes from the ratepayers, whether you collect it now or if it needs to be more later, we don't know. So.
Other? Thanks, Seth.
Yeah.
And I'm not Greg, but I know the next item is city manager's report. He asked me see if you guys had any questions about what was included in his report, and we could convey back to him.
I read it.
Yeah. And you guys are also free, if you do see something, to email him directly that you want follow up on.
All right, city manager report, our attorney, Mr. Condon.
I don't have anything for you tonight, Mr. Mayor, but I'm happy to talk about anything you want to.
Well, let's see. Let me see if I got any requests that we'll take. I don't get any, Jeff, so I think you're off the hook.
Odd rat.
Yeah. I did appreciate you though, talking about the mayor when I was virtual about, billing the mayor for any of those Multnomah County charges that I
Trying
asked
to
a
do my
question
job.
about. Yeah. Let's see, mayor and council comments. I'll just start down that end.
Sure. So I wanted to kind of apologize, but at the same time, give a reason why I did not show up to the Muktuk meeting on Monday, March 13th. My wife was in surgery. It was no big deal, but I still needed to support her. So that's the reason why I didn't show up to that meeting. So I do have it on my calendar for next month. So I will be meeting you for that. So, but
Thank you.
there you go.
I guess my only comments are like after the shooting that happened. No,
Oh, yeah.
today, Monday, anyway, another school shooting. Just kind of reaffirmed my commitment, I guess, to like supporting smart gun laws and yeah, just reading about like what an AR, a body and a child's body. It's just dropping my son off every day thinking, is this the last conversation we're going to have arguing about shoes or, like, is this the last thing I'm going to say to him before someone takes his life at school? And I know I'm not the only parent or person without kids that feels that way. So I guess I just wanted to say that. And I know our community is violence heavy on me today, as it is most days. So.
Yeah, I think that deserves some more conversation at some point too. Because we are a public jurisdiction. And we take proclamations and we do a lot of things that we are sometimes feel like it's all symbolic. But sometimes symbolic things are important things to do also. So that's all I'll say about that right now. Thanks for bringing that up.
Just kind of I think there are a few representatives out there working on legislation in support of how do we have safer gun laws. So I know after that incident, a few of our representatives got to work immediately to present some to the legislative body. So I'll try to see if I can find that and share that and bring that up. But I know there's some out there that are working hard on that.
And I'll just say one more thing about that. Legislators like us, they also need to know their support for taking what can be a very controversial stand. And I think that we need to help them know where we as a council, and this conversation will probably come up here soon with the mayors, with the 4 mayors. I'm only predicting that because I may bring it up. But I think it is, it's prudent, and I think it's a legitimate comment to make. And we'll see if we can, Jairo, if you are having some conversations before I'm going to meet with a county commissioner here next week or so, but I'm going to bring it up with her. So anything else, Jairo?
I think 2-3 weeks ago, I sent you guys out this measure that's proposed to be on
Thank you.
the primary on capital gains tax. And so I've been reached out by a coalition to provide more information. And so I read it and then I shared it with the rest of you all. And I just strongly suggest that you guys just read the material. If you guys have any questions, directly reach out to them. I do believe the measure is a little misleading in the way that the folks that are putting it together are presenting it. But I think it could have real hard implications for folks that are financially hurting or are on fixed incomes, are marginalized community members. So I just recommend that you guys just read that, and have any questions, reach out to that coalition.
Thank you, Councilor Rio Campos, because you reminded me. I did sign endorsing the repeal, opposing this measure, because as counselor had said, and I've had some conversations with not only the mayors here, but I know our county commissioners are in line and opposing it. The representatives in our area are opposing it. So look at it carefully. The one thing that really jumped out at me is that retired people might have to pay more. So, you know, as an AARP member.
That's a concern.
I called AARP immediately.
Yeah, I'll say that I also endorse the against the measure. So, but yeah, it's great information. And again, if you guys have questions, there is some folks out there that can probably better answer those questions than I can. So.
Thanks. And you know, on this one, and I also supported another one that I just put my name on it, not the mayor. On this one, I did put mayor on it. So, and we didn't have a chance to have a conversation prior to me doing that because I had to turn around the endorsement because it was happening when I was traveling. And so I'll always try to, before I go on record and as the mayor, try to have conversations with the council on that. Just a couple things. One, thanks for your patience and your consideration as I was on the road. The virtual works. I would hate to try to have to make a living being virtual and do all my work virtually because you know, there's something that gets missed when you're sitting back there. Now, Jeff, that doesn't mean for you. You don't miss anything. But I thanks for your considerations and patience on that. Mark, I appreciate your Route 66. Sure.
You're welcome.
Because I was on Route 66 as we.
I wondered if you were.
Oh, yeah, we hit that one. The land acknowledgement reading, I am just offering it up to other council members because you don't need to hear the mayor read that in every meeting. So you don't have to read it. But that's why I'm doing it.
No, I'm
because
glad you do.
as a council, I think we all support that language.
Absolutely.
So we will share that if everybody's comfortable with that.
Very happy to.
And the last thing, let's see, last thing, I know we're all keeping Greg and Kirsten in our thoughts. So
Yes,
we
absolutely.
can leave with that. And again, I know they appreciate it and they have lots of support. And I thank the staff for helping Greg during these times. Any other comments?
The tornadoes in the south, that was really something to those cities that got wiped out as bad as they did. I look at our city and I think of how lucky we are to not have to deal with that type of thing. But at the same time, I'm glad that we have our disaster preparedness as well put together as we do. And I know that John's well up on that, and I do appreciate that. I've visited with him on this in the past 4 years when I was on the council, and I know 4 cities are as well. So
And Multnomah County.
and Multnomah County. So if we ever had something like that come and hit us like that, God forbid that we'd be right on top of it. So I do look out for those people. I feel for them. So just as you did for the school shooting, which was also just horrible. So
Didn't Councilor Lawton receive a grant for all 3 cities on
Emergency preparedness.
emergency preparedness?
The hazard mitigation.
I'm not quite sure.
I know Multnomah County has been doing the hazard mitigation for all 3 cities and combining it into one document.
I know, I think this was more around disaster preparedness. I'll
Okay.
look into it and then, yeah, but
We did have to fill out sign up for some federal number in order to participate in that. So there is
Yeah.
something happening. I don't know.
yeah, I know there's quite some funds out there. So just looking at that as an opportunity. My last thing was, as a council or staff, just thinking of Greg, is it possible to send him some flowers or, probably staff's already thinking of that, but I think that'd be, especially for Kirsten, just to remind them that, we also have them in our.
Okay. We'll do that. Becky, follow.
Ed, as a as a city, staff is working on compiling. I think we're going to go with some mac and cheese
Mac and cheese.
and some little
Was that a
goodies.
favorite?
Yeah, to send Sup actually cook some food and drop that off for them today. So
Oh, great.
Good.
My kids don't like my seafood gumbo. In a big batch this week. They're gonna be very happy when soup season is over, as they call it.
Yeah,
I
most
know.
of them do.
They don't know how good they have it.
Well, let's think about that. Council could get on board with staff, or council can take some, I don't know, I'm gonna brainstorm this real quick. Maybe a gift certificate for takeout, something like that. What do you?
Yeah.
I go out and babysit my grandkids in Sandy on Friday, so if I could get Greg's address, I could just drop by. If he's
I
going to
think
be there, is he
or-
going to be there on Friday? Or is he coming back?
Or see what they need.
Yeah, we're trying to ascertain kind of what would be the most helpful. And
Yeah.
we'll make sure to include you all in whatever. we
Yeah, would you?
Figure it out.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd
And
be
then
more
we
than
can
happy.
see if
I'd
there's
love to do
something,
that.
if there's something in addition
Yeah.
that we would do, but I'd rather us being all together on it, the
Yeah.
council and the staff, but
Yeah.
so appreciate anything you're doing there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Okay, then, and other comments? Otherwise, I want to close the meeting. We're closed.
Isn't it all?
Jeff, did you say something?
Oh, I just said good night.
Oh, all
Oh, good
right.
night.
Good night,
Night.
Jeff. All right.
We forgot to.